How are you feeling tonight? I'm ups and downs, ups and downs. I've kind of been thinking a lot today about, the last 10 years because there's a tweet going around mentioning that basically there's 1 month left in this decade, 2010 through 2019. That's a decade. It doesn't have a neat name. I don't know what you call it. The teens, 2010s, but it's 10 years. And they pointed out, what have you done? Like, basically, what have you done in the last 10 years? And a lot of people are sharing a lot of very nice stories, inspirational stories. And I don't know what I have to say, really. Because for me, if you look at my life, a lot of my the big stuff was in that 2000, 2009 range, okay? That's going back to school. That's getting a job in Japan. That's moving to Japan. That's meeting Mako. That's getting married. That's having first child. That's becoming a freelance writer. All that stuff was a huge decade for me of incredible change. And what's happened since then for me? What's 2010 to 2019? Not a lot. I mean, I'm still here in Japan, but I haven't exactly moved up in the world. I'm still writing, but I write way less now than I used to write earlier. Like in 2010, I was writing 2 stories a day for One Up. Even in 2012, before Shano was born, I was writing a lot of posts. I was trying to keep up with the news cycle. But I didn't mention it. Shano was born. Okay, that's a pretty big event. Instead of having one child, I have 2 children. That's huge. And a lot of people I know died. That's pretty huge. I made some great friends, no doubt. There's people I know today who I did not know in 2010. That's really nice. There's also people who I used to know who I just kind of fell out of friendship with, Besides people who died, of course. The people they're still alive, but we are not friends anymore. We're just not. So, yeah. At first glance, it's kind of a really bummer. Like, I couldn't really make up. I replied to that tweet with kind of a goofy answer, citing the fact that, I had 1 kid, so I had sex at least once. Hey. Which is kind of glib and maybe tasteless. But, if you think about it really hard, this year, and I'll probably talk more about this at the end of the year, but this year, I've made some significant personal changes this year, I feel like. And that's good. And of course, the fact that I made it through an entire decade is always, it's worth recognizing, I don't think when I was a kid, or say teenager, when I started to be at my most mopiest, I didn't think I was going to live to be this old. I honestly didn't. I thought I was going to pass away at a much younger age. So I'm still here. That's good. And while I didn't exactly transition from a bad job to a good job, I transitioned from a bad job for me to a good job for me. Even if the money isn't there at all, which is pretty disappointing. But it's like, I prefer it, I'm a much happier, I guess that's worth saying. I'm a much happier person now in 2019 than I was in most of the last 10 years. Like, most of the last 10 years. There were some times where I had some great times. Don't want to say I had no good times, but I'm a much happier person now than I was at any other stretch during the last 10 years. And of course, I'm a much smarter person now, and I'm much more aware of what's going on in the world than I am. I mean, those are all good things. Those are all growth things. It's just, as decades go, this was a rough one, you know. But I'm better off. I am. Not financially. Maybe emotionally. But I am. I am better off now than I was January 2010. And that's good. I'll be better off also when I get some sleep. Good night, everybody. I love you.